All right, I'm going to give you an overview of Twelfth Night, along with some background information that you might need to help you understand the play. First of all, I know many students feel intimidated by reading Shakespeare, but you'll notice that I have required for you the No Fear Shakespeare edition, so if you will look in that book, you'll see that Shakespeare's original text is printed on the left-hand side of the pages, and then a nice modern translation is printed on the right-hand side. So I do want you to make every effort to read along the left-hand side, and if you get stuck, you'll know that the right-hand side with that easier translation is there for you whenever you need it. So the easiest way to give you some background about this play is to go ahead and introduce to you the cast of characters. So forgive my PowerPoint skills here, but I'm going to get you through this. So the main character of Twelfth Night is a woman named Viola, and she and her twin brother Sebastian were aboard a ship, and it wrecked in a place called Illyria. Now, when it wrecks, only Viola and Sebastian wash up on shore really far away from each other, so they both think that the other one has died at sea. Neither one knows that the other one has survived. So we open up the play with Viola having washed up on this shore, this foreign shore where she doesn't know anybody. And during this time, it would have been really dangerous for a woman alone to be in a place where she didn't have any connections. And so she persuades one of the guys who washed up with her to dress her as a man. A boy, really, and she decides that she'll try to seek employment in Illyria as a boy until she can kind of straighten out her situation. So she gains employment with a man named Duke Orsino. Duke Orsino is a pretty noble, higher-up kind of guy in Illyria. And so Viola, dressed up as this boy named Cesario, gets a job as Duke Orsino's servant, his footman, kind of. And pretty quickly, we realize that in addition to being his servant, Viola is also falling in love with Duke Orsino. Meanwhile, Sebastian washes up with this guy named Antonio, and Antonio and Sebastian become fast friends, and so Sebastian and Antonio decide that they will set off along a different road and try to make sense of Sebastian's situation. And again, Sebastian thinks that Viola has died, and Viola thinks that Sebastian has died, so they're both mourning each other. So Viola's first job in the employment of Duke Orsino is to help Duke Orsino woo a woman he loves. So there is a noble woman in town named Olivia. Duke Orsino has been in love with Olivia for a long time, and she won't hear about it. She doesn't want to get into a relationship with him. And just previous to the play's beginning, Olivia's father and brother have both died. And so Olivia has vowed to stay in mourning alone and not even exit her house for like 10 years. So Orsino is really feeling hopeless. He doesn't know how to convince Olivia to marry him. So he sends his servant, Viola, who he thinks is a boy, to Olivia's house to maybe just try to persuade her on Orsino's behalf. Unfortunately, when Cesario gets to Olivia's house, Olivia falls in love with him. So now Olivia is really in love with Viola in drag and doesn't realize her mistake. So those are the main points that you need to know. The other important characters in the play are these three. So Maria, Festi, and Malvolio are all Olivia's servants. Maria is like her handmaiden. Festi is the court jester who kind of just walks around town and gets paid to make people laugh, sing them songs, and tell them jokes. And then finally, Malvolio is Olivia's butler, and he's known to be a little bit stuffy and hard-edged. Olivia also has an uncle named Sir Toby Belch, and as his name suggests, he is chronically drunk, so he will be a bit of a troublemaker. Sir Toby Belch has called a good friend named Sir Andrew, and Sir Andrew is a knight, but he is like a 70-year-old fat, drunk, gross knight. So Sir Toby Belch has called Sir Andrew and said, "Hey, my niece Olivia is single. Why don't you come to town and try to woo her?" Now, Sir Toby Belch knows that his beautiful young niece, Olivia, is never going to go for an old fat knight. So he's really kind of gaming Sir Andrew just to come to town and buy him free drinks. So these two, Sir Toby Belch and Sir Andrew, are going to provide us with some comic relief. Before you get started reading, I want to point out a few other things to you. So these are common features of Renaissance comedy. So all comedies written during this time period generally have these things in common. And you should be on the lookout for these things as you read, as they'll help you when you get ready to do your midterm paper. So some common features of Renaissance comedy include separation and unification. So usually a pair of people is separated, something happens to force them apart, as we see with Viola and Sebastian, and they're gonna unify eventually. Second, we have mistaken identity. So you can see how people dressing in drag plus identical twins is going to lead to some mistaken identity issues, which turn out to be very funny. We often will have clever tricksters or servants. So a lot of times you'll notice that the servants are smarter than the people that they work for. They outsmart or make fun of the people that they work for. And again, you'll find that definitely in Twelfth Night. Multiple intertwining plots. So you can see that we have one plot in which Viola and her brother Sebastian have been shipwrecked. Then we have a separate plot where Viola falls in love with Orsino, and a third plot in which Olivia is in love with Viola. So we have lots of interweaving plots. There's usually a mummer, fool, or jester. So in this case, there's a jester named Festi who walks around saying snide things to people. We have at the end, there should be a large solution, unveiling, or aha moment where all the mistaken identities and interweaving plots are finally solved and revealed. And so everybody on stage goes, oh, at the same time. And finally, most Renaissance comedies are going to end with a happy ending for the lovers involved. So I hope you enjoy reading Twelfth Night. Let me know if you have any trouble.